Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone out there in YouTube land. We have again come to the end of a week of study in the book of Psalms. And we're at the end of week 15. I'm just going to read you the thought for the week, remembering, of course, that the author is Kay Arthur. And if I speak with her voice, well, it's because I'm reading her book. Thought for the week. Psalm 88 is one of my favorites. Each year we take a tour group to Israel, the Holy Land. One highlight of this trip is Caiaphas' house in Jerusalem. The modern site is known as the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu, a Roman Catholic shrine built to memorialize the crowing of the rooster after Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Under the church are a prison and a cistern. The prison has stone uprights that bear the signs of where rings were probably affixed to tie the hands of the prisoners. From the gospel accounts of Jesus' time at Caiaphas' house, you can imagine him there. A short distance away is a dry cistern, a rainwater collector. It rains in the winter there, and collected water is used during the dry season from April to November. The cistern was probably used as a holding cell for prisoners. It's more than twice the height of a man. In Jeremiah's day, it was partially filled with mud. Jeremiah 38, verses 6 through 13, describes the process of lowering and raising a prisoner from the cistern, using ropes and rags for padding, as happened to Jeremiah. Today, there are steps so you can get down into this cistern. We go down each year with a busload of people at a time, and a person in each group reads Psalm 88. To stand where Jesus stood nearly 2,000 years ago and to read this psalm and see how applicable it was to his situation is a moving experience. You can imagine Jesus himself in that cistern after being beaten and mocked and spat upon by the Jews that night. You can relate to the verse that says he was reckoned among those who go down to the pit, forsaken among the dead. He was put in a dark place, the lowest pit. His acquaintances were far from him and loathed him. He was shut up, unable to escape. He called upon his Father. In the morning, Jesus' prayer ascended to his Father as he was released and taken to Pontius Pilate. In the awfulness of his suffering leading up to the cross, you can see how this psalm reflects that terrible night. Psalm 22 reflects the awfulness of Jesus' suffering on the cross, and the psalmist captures a similar emotion here. The psalmist asks God questions. Will you perform wonders for the dead? Will your loving kindness be declared in the grave? The answers are found in the Gospels. God did perform wonders for the dead. Jesus was resurrected, raised from the dead on the 3rd day, declaring victory over death, so that we also might be resurrected, so that death would have no hold over us. That wonder is a result of God's loving kindness, that steadfast love extended to those in covenant with him. Which covenant? The new covenant promised in Jeremiah and in Ezekiel, that God would write his law on our hearts, new hearts of malleable flesh, replacing the callous hearts of stone. And he would put his Spirit within to empower us to walk in his statutes and observe his commandments. As both Jeremiah and Ezekiel state, we know this covenant is for Israel and Judah. And the New Testament makes clear that we too are part of this covenant. According to Paul in 1 Corinthians 11, when Jesus broke the bread and drank the cup at supper the night before he was betrayed and arrested, he declared that this was the new covenant in his blood. Paul's letter was addressed to the church in Corinth, Greece, which was comprised mostly of Gentiles. Also in that letter, he says that whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord proclaims the Lord's death until he comes. The writer of Hebrews confirms this same truth. So all who believe the gospel participate in the new covenant. God's loving kindness extends to those who have the sentence of death because of sin. The wages of sin is death, and all have sinned. All men have the sentence of death within. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9. But God grants the ultimate pardon and everlasting life to those who believe. That's why the Lord is the God of our salvation. Is He yours? Well, we're going to start a new week of study. Week 16, we're going to press on. I hope you'll continue to join us, and we're so glad that you have been here with us. We'll see you in the next one, friends. God bless you.